Hello and namaste and welcome to my YouTube classroom. This is your teacher PRP and today we will be discussing the syllabus for the teaching aptitude for both RIE CEE entrance examination and your i3t entrance exam for the Indian Institute of Teacher Education, Gandhinagar. So without any delays, let's get started. So before we delve into the details of the syllabus, let us just understand what does teaching aptitude mean. Most of you all have completed your 12th and you all have never answered a teaching aptitude test. Teaching aptitude basically tells us how inclined you are towards the profession of teaching. It tells us your diligence and your proficiency towards the profession of teaching. Okay. The syllabus has been classified into 7 spheres or 7 key areas of teacher education. First one is the attitude focus. Your views on education, children, and teaching as a profession will be measured in the attitude focus section. Teaching interest, your genuine passion and motivation to become a teacher will be focused in the teaching interest section. Leadership and classroom management. See, a teacher's ability to handle students is the key ability to manage a classroom. So a teacher is also called the classroom leader. Okay. So your ability to guide students and manage a group of activities effectively is all about your leadership and classroom management. Emotional and social skills are very necessary for the teacher. How do they interact with students and how do they know themselves as teachers? So this is important for teachers to know. Self and others understanding, the interpersonal and intrapersonal abilities to understand each other is the necessity for teachers. Modern education trends, okay, that we are into the digital era, so the digital technologies that are into play of in teacher education, okay, and methods according to NEP 2020 and the NCF-SE 2023. NCF is a National Curriculum Framework and SE is for School Education 2023. And current educational issues, all the issues we teachers are facing or you might face in a classroom, and how will you tackle such scenarios. So these are the key areas that will be focused on in your teaching aptitude test for your entrance exam. So let us begin with the first key area, that is attitude focus. Now, as we mentioned, attitudes in teaching aptitude are divided into 3 spheres. One is attitude of a teacher towards education. Second is attitude of a teacher towards their children. And third is attitude of a teacher towards teaching as a profession. The first one is attitude towards education. Now, when we talk about attitude towards education, we will always start with an example so that we understand the core or the crux of what the concept is. Now, imagine a student is struggling with a concept, okay? A teacher with a positive attitude towards education wouldn't just say that you need to study harder or you're a bad student. No, a teacher won't say that. Instead, they might think, how can I explain this differently so that the student truly understands and feels empowered by learning it? So here the teacher is seeing the potential for growth. A positive attitude means believing in the transformative power of education for every individual, how education can transform one student from where they are to what they can potentially become. Okay, so if there's a question based on attitude towards education, we need to know the concept that view education, a teacher must view education as a journey of discovery and empowerment and not just memorization. Understanding that education should foster critical thinking, creativity, and problem solving skills. This is what the NEP says. Okay. Believe that education is a fundamental right and should be accessible to all and with equality. Of course, there should be quality and equality in education. Appreciate education's role in developing good citizens and make sure that you are making a better society through education. So, this is your attitude towards education. Now, attitude towards children. Now, again, with an example, if a child is consistently disruptive, a teacher with a positive attitude towards children will try to understand the reason behind the behavior. Perhaps it's the learning difficulty or a problem at home, or there are several problems why a student can behave in a very disruptive manner in a classroom. So instead of just labeling the student that he's a problematic student or he's a naughty student or he's not a good student, he's not a focused student, we need to look at the reasons. Okay. So it's about respecting children as individuals with unique needs, abilities, and potentials. Every child is potential. Every child has their needs and abilities and are need of help sometimes, and we need to be good teachers. So, what does a teacher need to do here? A teacher believes that every child is capable of learning and has a unique strength. A teacher must be patient, understanding, and empathetic towards children's feelings and challenges that they are facing, both internally and externally. Treat all children fairly without any bias, irrespective of their background, and foster a nurturing and supportive environment where children feel safe to learn and even to make mistakes. See, sometimes when a child does a mistake, we try to stop them from making mistakes. No, let them learn from their mistakes. The next one is attitude towards teaching as a profession. A teacher who actively seeks out workshops on new teaching techniques and shares resources with their colleagues demonstrates a positive attitude towards a profession. They see it as a field requiring constant growth and collaboration. So, teaching is not a very static profession. It requires constant growth, and there is a need of collaboration where you take the help of other teachers and you make yourself more accessible to students. So it involves seeing teaching as a noble and impactful career, not just a job. So, what should a teacher do? A teacher must be passionate about teaching and dedicated towards the students. A teacher must show commitment to continuous professional development and learning new techniques. Because you see, NEP also says that there should be a minimum of 50 hours of continuous professional development for teachers. So, you need to learn the new techniques that are coming up in teaching. Uphold ethical practices and maintain professionalism in all interactions. So, whatever it is, you need to be very professional when you're in the field, and you should be willing to collaborate with colleagues and parents and every other individual who can be resourceful to make your teaching much more impactful for the classroom. Okay. The important slide here is what are the unique pointers or unique questions that can be asked from this section. The first one is focus on learner centricity. Okay. Questions will often test you if you prioritize the child's learning experience and overall development. Okay. So there can be a question where you have to choose the option which is more appropriately, which is related to your child's learning, okay, and development. Education as an empowerment, you can expect questions that gauge your belief in education as a tool for social change, equality, and individual empowerment, and not just rote learning. So there can be a question where you have to choose an option that is making education to be a tool for empowering a student to develop a student and not just for rote memorization or just examination. Unconditional positive regard for children. You might be asked a scenario based question about difficult students. Okay, difficult students, basically students who require help from a teacher. Your response should show empathy, patience, and the belief in every child's potential. So there can be options where three of them can be options of ignoring a child, and one option can be where you're showing empathy towards a child. So you need to choose that option. Professional ethics and commitment questions can touch upon a teacher's responsibility and dedication. Okay, you need to be very positively focused on questions and options which are based on your professional ethics and commitment. Inclusivity as a core value, be prepared for questions on dealing with diverse learners. Stress the importance of creating an inclusive classroom where every student is a part of your classroom, no one is segregated. All of them are equally treated in a classroom. View teaching as a vocation, not just a job. So teaching is basically a profession that helps in developing young minds. So you should not just look at it as a job, but as a passion that is dedicated towards a different to make a difference in the society. So if you have questions related to attitudes, you have all of these areas which you can focus on, and it is very easy. If you read the options, you will understand that which question can be answered. The next key area is interest in teaching, how interested you are, how genuinely motivated you are to enter the profession. Interest in teaching, again, whenever we start a slide, we'll start with an example. Okay, someone with a genuine interest in teaching might volunteer to tutor young students or spend time reading about different educational philosophies simply because they find it engaging. Because we all have an interest in teaching, so we find everything. If we see a student who needs help, we try to teach them. Okay, so this shows our interest towards teaching. They are drawn to the act of sharing knowledge and facilitating learning. Okay, so what are you doing? You're basically sharing the knowledge, you're becoming a facilitator to the learner. It is about the genuine desire and enthusiasm to teach. So most of us have started our teaching journey by just playing teacher teaching. So what are we doing? We have the enthusiasm to teach. That's why we are good at our teaching aptitude. So what is in teaching aptitude? We find joy in explaining concepts and helping others understand certain concepts. We are very curious about how students learn and what motivates them to learn more. Okay. Teachers show enthusiasm in their subject and desire to share whatever they feel with their students. Teachers are highly motivated and they impact students' lives so that they can make them interested in the subject. So what are the unique pointers or types of questions that can be asked from this section? Intrinsic motivation questions will try to uncover if your interest is genuine and it comes from within. See, interest in teaching is always intrinsic. There are two types of teachers: teachers who are teachers by choice and teachers who are teachers by chance. If you are answering the RIE examination or you're answering the i3t examination, you all are teachers by choice. You all are making teaching as a profession. You're not taking up the challenge to become teachers. Okay. So, second thing, proactive engagement with subject matter. So they might ask how you would make a dull topic interesting. Focus on innovative methods. If there will be four options, okay, and one of the options will be very innovative, very interesting. So that will be the correct answer. Desire for student interaction. Questions might explore why you specifically chose teaching. Emphasize your desire to connect with students and positively influence them in their academics. Fourth, pedagogy and curiosity about your pedagogy. Pedagogy, it's a new word for you. Pedagogy is basically the art and science of teaching. Okay, अगर आप किसी को पढ़ा रहे हो, जिस ढंग से पढ़ा रहे हो, it is called pedagogy. The way you're teaching, the techniques you're using, the skills you're using, all of it comes under an umbrella term which is called pedagogy. It is the art and science of teaching. Okay, so be ready for questions about different teaching methods or your willingness to explore new methods of teaching. Long-term commitment clues, okay, link your interest to a sustained desire to contribute to education, okay, and witness the growth of students over time. So all of us want students to grow over time. Reflection on personal experiences. There can be questions about what motivated you as a teacher. They can give you four options. There was a strict teacher, there was a good teacher, there was a teacher who did not care, there was a teacher who just read the text. So there are so many options which can tell you that these are the teachers who inspired us to enter the profession. The next one, another important aspect, is leadership qualities and group management. Okay. So what are the qualities a teacher must possess? First is the vision. Okay. A teacher must have a clear idea of what they want their students to achieve in life. Second is communication. It is very important that you communicate well with your students. Okay. You get a feedback from them. What is communication? It's a two-way communication where you are giving a stimulus and you're getting a response. The response is called a feedback. Decision making, making fair and timely decisions, okay, making sure that you are not being biased with students. Your decisions should ensure that you're not doing partiality with students or you're not having any biasness with your students. Motivation, inspiring and encouraging students to learn and participate actively in the classroom activities. Empathy. You must make sure that you understand the feelings of the students. Responsibility and accountability, taking ownership of the learning process and the student outcome. If a student performs well, yes, you have worked hard. If a student is not performing well, you must accept it that some way or the other you are also at fault. Okay, so you need to take the ownership, that is the responsibility and accountability of the students. Integrity, being honest, fair, and ethical in all dealings. Whatever you do, you need to be fair, you need to be ethical, you need to be very honest because teachers are the role models of the society. Group management. Group management basically describes how effectively a teacher is organizing or guiding a group of students, okay, to perform a particular task which is productive in nature and it is contributing positively in the learning environment. Okay, how do you do it? A teacher must establish clear rules and routines in the classroom. A teacher must use positive reinforcement. You should positively motivate students and encourage them for their good behavior. A teacher must handle conflicts and disruptions calmly and constructively. If there is any disruption in any conflict in a group, you should not add on to the conflict. You should resolve it very calmly. Okay. Again, you should not be biased within group. Organize group activities that promote collaboration and participation. Very important. We are moving towards an age of collaboration, where it is very important that a teacher must organize group activities and make sure that students learn to work together, okay, and perform a particular task. A teacher must ensure all students feel included and valued within the group. Okay, everyone should be having some tasks to be done, and everyone should be valued in it. Okay, you need to have a positive environment that has been created through group activities. Important and unique pointers from leadership and group activities. Democratic and facilitative leadership. You need to opt for answers that show you as a facilitator of learning who empowers students rather than just being an authoritarian figure and standing and directing and instructing students to perform a particular task. You need to make sure that you become a teacher who will help students to participate positively. proactive versus reactive management. Okay. Questions might test how you prevent issues, emphasize establishing clear expectations, routines, and a positive classroom climate to minimize disruptions. Conflict resolution skills, yes, if there is a group activity, there can be conflicts. So focus on teaching students to resolve conflicts constructively, okay, and developing understanding and empathy among each other. Ability to motivate and inspire groups, highlight strategies that build collective enthusiasm, encourage participation, and make learning to be a shared adventure. You need to make sure that all the students are working together. Okay. Fairness and impartiality in group settings, of course, there should be no biasness, and vision of our classroom culture. You need to make sure that every individual in the classroom is contributing towards the activity, okay? And they're learning from each other. This is what a vision should be of a classroom. A positive classroom is a collaborative classroom. Moving on to emotional and social adjustment. Okay, this will talk about how a teacher should manage themselves and also manage their classroom emotionally. Emotional adjustment, there are two adjustments here, emotional adjustment and social adjustment. Emotional adjustment, if a lesson plan gets unexpectedly derailed, a teacher who is emotionally well adjusted can adapt quickly and calmly without getting frustrated or visibly upset. Sometimes there are activities that are happening, co-curricular activities that are conducted in schools, where you feel that your syllabus will be lagging, but you should not express it. You must be emotionally adjustable that you're sure that in the coming days you will be able to manage all of it. So manage your own stress and emotions effectively, even in challenging situations. Remain patient and calm when dealing with student misbehavior or difficulties. Maintain a positive and optimistic outlook and be self-aware. Understand your own emotional triggers and responsibilities. Social adjustment. A teacher who can effectively participate in school events, communicates openly with parents about their child's progress, and collaborates with other teachers on projects demonstrates good social adjustment. I said collaboration is the key. When you collaborate with other teachers, you're trying to make your classroom much more effective. You're trying to achieve the learning objectives in a much efficient way. So build positive relationship with students, colleagues, parents, and administrators. Communicate effectively and respectfully with diverse individuals. Everyone, you should be very respectful towards everyone. Be cooperative and work well in a team. Show sensitivity to cultural differences. Now, basically, there are students with different cultures. You need to be very sensitive towards all the cultures to make it an inclusive setup. Again, the important points. Okay. Resilience and stress management. Questions may present challenging classroom scenarios. They can be scenarios which are very challenging. So this shows what constructive solution a teacher. So choose the option which has a very constructive solution that will help you manage the stress. Empathy in action. If you might be asked questions, how do you respond to an emotionally distressed student? If there is a student who requires help, how will you handle the student? This can be. So you need to choose the option which is highly empathetic. Building positive relationships. Now, questions could explore how you would interact with your colleagues or parents, emphasize on open communication, collaboration, and a respectful approach towards each other. Self awareness and emotional triggers. Now, you may not be directly asked any questions on your mindset, but yes, there can be questions where you will be asked on your self awareness. In case there's a certain situation, what do you think should be the right action that you should be performing? Adaptability and flexibility. Questions might involve unexpected changes and disruptions, highlighting your ability to adapt or adjust to plans to maintain a positive learning environment despite of unforeseen circumstances. Promoting a positive social climate. See, all of the points, if you compare till now whatever we have discussed, all of the points have one thing that is common, that's promoting positive social climate. You need to make sure the most positive option is selected in the entire chapter. Okay. Question section 5, which is your interpersonal and intrapersonal skills. Now, let us understand what is interpersonal and intrapersonal first. Now, whenever you are having a conflict within yourself, okay, whenever there is a conflict which is within yourself, okay, अपने अंदर जो भी conflicts होते हैं, it is called intrapersonal. Okay. But whenever there are conflicts or communications with outside your personal self, okay, with someone else, if there is someone else you're having an interaction with, okay, it is called inter. Okay, interpersonal basically जब आप दूसरों के साथ communicate करते हो, इंट्रापर्सनल जब आप खुद के साथ कम्युनिकेट करते हो. Okay. Intrapersonal skills or self-awareness. A teacher who, after a challenging class, reflects on what worked and what did not, and thinks about how they could approach it in a different. कभी कभी हमें लगता है the class went well. We are very happy with the approach that we have done. Sometimes your classroom does not go well. Okay, your class does not go well. So you think, where did we falter? Where did we go wrong? And how can we improve ourselves? Okay, so here we need to have self-awareness. Okay, understanding ourselves. Okay, self-regulation, managing ourselves. Self-motivation, motivating ourselves to do better, and reflection, critically thinking of what can be done better in the upcoming session. Interpersonal, your communication or your skills with other people. Communication, the very first thing, you need to be an active listener and you need to be very clear when you're speaking. Okay. Collaboration, you need to work effectively with others with a shared common goal. Conflict resolution, if there is any kind of a conflict or a disagreement, you should be able to handle it nicely. Empathy, you need to have a positive feeling towards others and respect their feelings. Building a rapport, basically establishing a positive relationship between students, parents, colleagues. Okay, you have a rapport with them. Okay. Important pointers again, reflective practice, emphasize your commitment to self-reflection, seeking feedback and continuously working on your teaching skills. क्या होता है कि अगर आपके सामने कोई ऐसी सिनेरियो आ जाए, you need to make sure कि आप फीडबैक ले, and reflection is basically how you improvise या आप जब चेंज करते हो अपने एक्शंस को. Active listening, of course, you have to be a good listener. Clarity in communication. If there is any communication gap, this can lead to miscommunication. So communication is important. Collaborative problem solving. Now, whenever there are two or more people working together, a teacher must ensure that they are functioning well towards the common goal. Okay, उनको साथ में काम करना चाहिए, उनको आगे बढ़ना चाहिए. So you might be asked about working with your colleagues on challenging issues. Highlight your ability to contribute positively in the team efforts. Giving and receiving constructive feedback, of course. If there is any challenge that you feel that you can make a good improvisation on, you need to give a feedback. Building rapport with diverse individuals. Rapport is basically a connection, okay, and understanding between each other and other stakeholders in the education system. Now, the digital initiatives, pedagogy, NEP 2020, and the school education according to the NCFSE 2023. Now, let us understand the digital initiatives first. Now, what does the technology or the technological era have for us teachers? Technology creates engaging and interactive learning experiences. Of course, you have these PowerPoint presentations, you show videos, you're making the learning much more interactive. It provides access to vast resources and information. All of your resources are available on the internet nowadays. Technology facilitates personalized learning for students. Yes, nowadays there are applications and there are study websites which help you have a personalized learning. Okay, you know what all concepts you're lagging in and how you need to improve them. It equips students with essential skills for the future. Technology improves teacher productivity and efficiency. See, the way I'm interacting with you all, there is a video, there's a PowerPoint presentation, and I'm trying to show my ideas, share my ideas with all of you all. So what am I doing? It has improved my productivity and efficiency so that I can share my knowledge with people who require to understand teaching aptitude. It enables instant feedback and assessment. Of course, technology will give you an instant feedback. Now, these are some full forms you need to remember. All of you, all, please pay attention. These are some full forms on the right-hand side of the PPT you need to remember. SWAYAM. SWAYAM stands for Study Webs of Active Learning for Young Aspiring Minds. Diksha stands for Digital Infrastructure for Knowledge Sharing. NDLI is the National Digital Library of India. MOOC, as I said, MOOC has been a very common question. Massive Open Online Course. OER is called Open Education Resources. NDEAR is National Digital Education Architecture. Now, coming to the most important point, the NEP, National Education Policy 2020, and the NCF, National Curriculum Framework for School Education 2023. So basically, the NCF is the subsidiary of the NEP. Whatever the NEP says, the NCF has taken the important points for school education. Okay, so let us understand what did the NEP say. We need to know the 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 structure of education. It's on the next slide. Okay. Curricular structure emphasis on foundation literacy, numeracy, multidisciplinary holistic education, focus on holistic development of the child, including cognitive and psychomotor domains. Cognitive domains मतलब आपके सोचने की जो क्षमता है, critical thinking होगी, creativity होगी, ठीक है? Same thing. The next point is the same: promotion of critical thinking, creativity, and experiential learning. Experiential learning is basically learning by doing. जब आप लैब जाते हो, ठीक है, साइंस स्टूडेंट्स, you'll understand a particular experiment and then you know what the principle basically states. Okay, Pascal's law. जब तक आप वो बलून वाला एक्सपेरिमेंट नहीं करेंगे, आपको Pascal's law समझ में नहीं आएगा. Ohm's law also. Okay, so you experience it, you experiment it, you experience it, and you learn. Importance of teacher education and continuous professional development. I said continuous professional development may it requires 50 hours of CPD. Every teacher will require 50 hours of CPD in an academic year. CPD is continuous professional development. Okay. Emphasis on technology and education. Yes, technology should be a part of education. So what did the NCF say? NCF is basically the curriculum framework of how the school education should function. So it should focus on competency-based education. Competency is your understanding, your critical thinking, जिसमें आप use करते हो, that is competency-based. Curriculum aligned with the 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 structure, integration of Indian knowledge system, arts and sports. Indian knowledge system, IKS, okay, जो हमारी भारतीय पद्धति है, उस चीज को जब हम आगे सीखते हैं, okay, when we understand what all traditional knowledge we had, what knowledge storehouse we were in the ancient era, and we are bringing back the same education, the same knowledge into the modern era, we are trying to understand the Indian education system. Emphasis on values and socio-emotional learning. Guidelines for textbook development and pedagogical practices. Okay, this is all given by the NCF. Who gives the NCF? NCF is given by the NCERT. Okay, remember. So this is your structure, your 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 structure. You see that the first level, okay, it is called the foundational level. Okay, the first level is called the foundational level. It is for 5 years, which has 3 years of Anganwadi and preschool. Okay, let me just say 3 years of Anganwadi and preschool and 2 years of class 1 and 2. Okay, then comes your preparatory stage. In your preparatory stage, you need to know that it is another 3 years from class 3 to class 5. Okay, preparatory stage is from class 3 to class 5. Then comes your middle stage, again 3 years from class 6 to class 8. Okay, class 6 to class 8, that is your middle stage. And finally comes your secondary stage. Secondary stage is going to be a club of class 9 to class 12. Okay, 4 years. So that's why it is called your 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 structure. Okay, 5 years of your foundation, 3 years of your preparatory, 3 years of your middle, and 4 years of your secondary. So important points and questions that can be asked from this section. First is holistic and multidisciplinary education. Okay, you can talk about connecting two different subjects and making students understand and relate to concepts. Okay, NCF's emphasis on competency-based learning, where students are applying their skills and connecting it with the real-life scenarios. Purposeful integration of technology, you can be given 4 options. Whichever is the best form of integrating technology and education, that will be the correct answer. Foundational literacy and numeracy, to understand the basics. Okay, whenever you're talking about foundational literacy, you need to know that it is very necessary a student needs to learn how to read and write by the age of 11. Okay, inclusive education, need to read, write, and calculate by the age of 11. Inclusive education within policy frameworks. Inclusive education, as I said, if a student has special needs, okay, if they have hearing okay, disability or a visual disability or visual impairment, you need to ensure that you are including the student in the classroom. Teacher is a lifelong learner, very important. This is what the NEP said. Teaching is a process that is very continuous. It is never going to perish. Okay, teacher is a lifelong learner. Every day there are new happenings. Every day there are new updates which you are supposed to update yourself. Okay, you need to know what is happening. And finally, general awareness of contemporary issues pertaining to school education. Contemporary issues are basically आजकल के ज़माने में as teachers हमें क्या क्या दिक्कतें face करनी पड़ती हैं. Okay, so we need to be aware of what all is happening around us. Contemporary issues is what all is happening around us. First of all, you need to know about inclusive education. In India, the scheme of inclusive education were disabled at secondary stage, that is IEDSS. Now subsumed, that is basically it is a sub part of the RMSA. RMSA stands for Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan. This means that every student has the right to have education of middle school. Okay, middle school education, or basically school education, is a right of every student. Okay, so according to the RTE, the student teacher ratio, okay, PTR, pupil teacher ratio, was 30 is to 1. 30 students in a class with one teacher. But now, currently, in 2023-2024, the PTR, that is the pupil teacher ratio, has changed to 24 is to 1 for elementary school and 27 is to 1 for secondary school. 24 students for one teacher and 27 students for one teacher in the secondary level. But assessment is another integral part of the education system. So whenever you're done with education, you give your examination, correct? So according to the NEP 2020, PARA, which stands for Performance Assessment Review and Analysis of Knowledge for Holistic Development, it is a national assessment center set up as an independent constituent unit of the NCERT, according to the NEP 2020. So these are all the concepts which we have briefly covered upon teaching aptitude in 30 minutes. I wish you all the very best for both RIE CE examination as well as your i3t examination. Thank you so much. This is Teacher PRP, and I wish you all the best for the upcoming exams. And I wish you all the best to becoming great teachers that our country requires. Thank you.